After half a month, Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor had regained much of his complexion. While treating him, they had passed by 15 cities, yet Qin Mu had not found all the spirit herbs he needed. However, the injuries were more or less cared for. Qin Mu was proficient in using medicine, so when not having top-quality spirit herbs, he used ordinary ones to replace them. However, some injuries really needed incomparably precious spirit herbs, which left him helpless. When they reached the capital, they saw white lanterns and white banners hanging on numerous streets. After asking around, they learned that North Garrison King Ling Yifeng had passed away. The emperor was mourning, so the entire empire was grieving. North Garrison King Ling Yifeng was the younger brother of the former emperor and was ranked 8, so he was referred to as 8 Imperial Uncle. He was well respected and loved by the people, since when the former emperor was conquering the world, 8 Imperial Uncle had outstanding military service, conquering numerous countries. The injuries he received were very severe, and he had almost died a few times in battle, yet he had also saved the life of the former emperor quite a few times. The successful ascension of Emperor Yefeng to the throne was due to his support. He played a huge part in paving out the empire of the Ling family. When Qin Mu heard the news, he frowned slightly and took a look at Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor. The man revealed a mournful expression and said, "I'll be offering my condolences to North Garrison King's Manor." Qin Mu asked in a low voice, "Imperial Preceptor, why did North Garrison King rebel?" "He's not rebelling against the Emperor, he's rebelling against me for the empire of his Ling family," Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor said in a soft voice. "My power is too great, making him feel uneasy. He thinks I will overturn the rule of Ling family. You're right, it's time for me to start my family. Even with heaven's law in my heart, desires are still needed." Qin Mu had a weird expression. Someone like Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor starting a family? It was more or less beyond people's belief, yet it was about to happen. "I shall return to the manor first to change into robes of quiet colors." North Garrison King had contributed to the empire, and even though he didn't agree with my way of handling things, he was still a person deserving respect. I have to pay my respects to him. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor then bade farewell to Qin Mu. "Now that we're at the capital, you won't have to trouble yourself with my injuries anymore." Qin Mu nodded. Since Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor's injuries from the previous ambush had been healed, this meant that he had a divine physician by his side, thus there was no need for Qin Mu to continue treating him. When Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor returned to his manor, he was vigilant. He didn't walk through the main door but jumped into the manor directly. Looking around at the surroundings, he saw that all the seals were still in their places. Yet he didn't let his guard down and called out solemnly, "Old Fu? Yuan Qing?" There was no sound in reply. Imperial Preceptor's manor was unusually quiet. He walked in, and when he reached the hall, he saw his servants and bodyguards tied up and piled together. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor frowned, then saw Fu Yuanqing. Little Poison King Fu Yuanqing was stripped of all his clothes and trussed up on the ceiling of the hall. His tongue was sticking out, a golden rope tied around it. At the other end of the golden rope was a huge iron weight which was pretty heavy. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor frown deepened, and the sword light on his fingertips flashed, slicing apart the ropes on his body. Fu Yuanqing crashed heavily to the ground, and only then did Imperial Preceptor discover that all the cultivation in the man's body had been sealed, and as well as his divine treasures. Because of this, he couldn't unleash any bit of cultivation. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor broke the seals on him and the other servants and bodyguards. With a solemn face, he asked, "What happened?" "I have no idea." Fu Yuanqing shook his head in shame. "I didn't see anything before I got hung up there. And I didn't see anything even when my tongue was pulled out. A huge iron weight was then tied to it, so I couldn't cry for help even if I wanted to." "Old Master, is our manor haunted?" A few servants looked terrified. One of them said, "I also saw nothing before finding myself in the pile of others, unable to move." "Haunted?" Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor said. "It's not a ghost. That person's speed was too fast, so fast that you guys could not see him. I know who this person is. He must have barged into my manor to take advantage of me not being around to take back his leg. If I'm not wrong, my treasury should also have been emptied out." He brought everyone to the treasury only to see the seal on it still there, untouched. Fu Yuanqing let out a sigh of relief and smiled. "Imperial Preceptor, you have guessed wrong. The seal is still here. I reckon the thief couldn't break your seal, so he didn't touch the items inside." Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor sighed. A phantom has no form, he can pilfer the heavens and switch out the sun, so why would he need to break the seal? He can pass through the seal directly, without touching it in the slightest. The treasury is indeed emptied. Everyone didn't believe him. He then opened the seal and pushed the door open, revealing the treasury to be empty, cleaned out to the point it was spick and span. On the room's opposite wall, a painting had been hanging before. It portrayed the back of sword god drawn by heavenly painting country's crown prince, but it was gone without a trace now. In place of it were scribbles that were shocking to read. Imperial Preceptor, I took back my leg. Thanks for your treasures as well. Your servants were treated quite well by me, so there's no need to worry. Oh, I also slept on your bed, and after I woke up I took a dump on it. I even made a pot of fragrant tea for you in your study room. Our grudges are thus cleared, but you don't need to thank me. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor's expression darkened. He immediately went to his bedroom and lifted the blanket. When the stink permeated the air, he covered his nose and waved his hand. Old Fu, throw it away, throw it away. Old Fu immediately bundled up the blanket along with the bedsheet, but the stink came from the bed as well. Old Fu asked, Old Master, do you want to throw the bed away as well? Throw it away! Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor waved his hand and went to the study room with quick steps. The entire study room had the smell of urine, and the yellowish liquid in the teapot was clearly not tea. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor's sleeves swept the teapot out the window along with the teacups, his face black. Disgraceful! Never mind him taking his leg back, but to even eat, sleep, and poop in my manor to spoil my peace. Old Fu, prepare another tea set in bed. Old Fu hesitated for a moment before saying, Old Master, there isn't much money left. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor was slightly stunned. He then mumbled to himself, The Emperor's reward will take a few more days to come. My salary comes once every month, but it will only be given at the start of the month. This month's salary is gone. This time Old Master had gone out. You took more than half of the salary with you. The rest of it was used to send some meager gifts to the kings, dukes, and ministers for their birthdays. Those that had given birth to a son also had to be sent a gift. A few days ago it was the Empress Dowager's birthday, and the gift I prepared was even disdained for being unpresentable. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor's head started to ache. North Garrison King has passed away, so some gifts are needed. Are we really broke? Is there anything we can pawn? This. Old Fu hesitated for a moment, then decided not to say anything. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor looked around, but even though the house wasn't small, there wasn't a lot of furniture around. There wasn't anything that could be pawned. He always felt that infatuation with fine details prevents one from making progress, so all the stuff he ate and used were simple things, nothing fancy. The things he collected were mostly weird: cripple's leg, the painting of heavenly painting country's crown prince. Yet even these things were stolen by that thief god. Can we ask for the salary in advance? Old Fu asked. Old Master, do you still want your face? Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor hesitated. Could we borrow some? Old Fu shook his head. We recently went to war and the few people that Old Master is well acquainted with have been deployed and are no longer at home. Who would lend me money when the head of their house is not around? Unless Old Master went personally. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor muttered. My painting skills aren't bad and could be sold for some cash. Is Old Master going to sign it? Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor shook his head. If I sign my name, the person buying the painting would be bribing me. I won't sign. Old Fu shook his head. In that case, Old Master's painting won't sell. Those words pissed off Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor. How do you know it won't sell? I've had the painting of heavenly painting country's crown prince for a long time and copied it countless times. Even though I don't dare to say I'm comparable to Art Saint, but shouldn't that be good enough? Old Master, what kind of place is the capital? There are so many famous scholars around that they all look like carps crossing the river. How much do they earn by selling their paintings? More than half of those people are starving to the point they're skin and bones. Old Master, how well do you think your skills fare when compared to theirs? Old Fu then said. On the other hand, Old Master's disciples can lend money to Old Master. Borrow money from my disciples? I can't lower myself to that. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor suddenly thought of Qin Mu and smiled. I know who has money that I can borrow. He's liberal with his money and would usually pay when buying herbs for me. Otherwise, with that salary of mine, it would have been long gone. He's also not in the imperial court, so it's not embarrassing to borrow from him. I shall go and borrow money, you guys wait for me here. When Qin Mu returned back to Scholar's residence, he could smell a medicinal fragrance the moment he entered. It seemed to be coming from his courtyard, which bewildered him. Although there were odd job workers cleaning Scholar's residence, every one of them would often go to the hall to sit for lessons, so their cultivations weren't weak. There were some odd job workers who were even stronger than the scholars. In the history of Imperial College, there were quite a few odd jobs workers that had cultivated extraordinary abilities which allowed them to leap into the position of scholars and be promoted to reputable officers. With odd job workers guarding Scholar's residence, almost no one was able to sneak inside. Qin Mu brought the dragon Qilin and Hulinger into his courtyard and saw huge bags of herbs piled up in his courtyard. There was even stuff like a medicinal furnace, medicinal cauldron, etc. The medicinal furnace and medicinal cauldron were extraordinary. The markings on them were extremely extraordinary, which made it clear that they were precious treasures. They weren't inferior to the treasures Qin Mu had taken from Roland's golden palace. Inside a medicinal cauldron, there was a leg, and there was an arm in the medicinal furnace. When Qin Mu saw these two limbs, he was slightly stunned. He told Hulinger and the dragon Qilin, "Stay guard outside the courtyard and don't let anyone enter." Hulinger and the dragon Qilin got up and walked out of the courtyard. Qin Mu turned his head back to see the dragon Qilin squeezing through the creaking door frames and shook his head. "This fellow is getting fatter by the day. Very soon he'll probably break my door and I'll have to get a new one again." He pushed open the door to the main room and saw two men that were old and yet not that old sitting inside. Cripple had tidied himself. His hair was glossy black, while the beard under his chin was also tied up with a dazzling golden thread. The clothes he was wearing were also quite tastefully chosen. Old Ma sat opposite him and wore green clothing that wasn't as gaudy as Cripple's. One of his sleeves drooped down emptily, and he looked travel-worn. He must have arrived not too long ago, so his sideburns were grizzled and his hair was messy. When they saw Qin Mu walking in, Cripple revealed a simple smile, while Old Ma's cold face brightened up. "Grandpa Ma, Grandpa Cripple." Qin Mu felt moved and his eyes grew red. "Are you two here to see me?" "No," Old Ma replied. Qin Mu's felt hurt and Cripple smiled. "You are living more comfortably than us, so why do we have to come and see you? You're just someone we picked up, so why would we travel thousands of miles just to see you?" "Don't think too much," Qin Mu retorted angrily. "You're clearly here to see me." Cripple shook his head. "I'm just here to have you reattach my leg. Can you help me see if my leg is still alive?" "I won't." Cripple flew into a fury. "You rascal, turning independent? We're certainly not here to see you." Old Ma gave a cough and said unhurriedly, "If you're not here to see him, why didn't you bring your leg to apothecary instead? Stop teasing him, look at him, he's about to cry." "I'm not crying," Qin Mu said, putting up an act. All right, stop crying, I'm here to see you. I just returned from Imperial Preceptor's Manor, having stayed there for quite some time. I also took some items while I'm there as well. Do you see that leg in the cauldron?" This elder was very proud of himself. "My leg! I took it back from Imperial Preceptor's Manor and Imperial Preceptor couldn't do anything about it. He could only look at me helplessly as I took back my leg." Qin Mu kept quiet for a moment before letting out a warm smile. "Grandpa Cripple, Imperial Preceptor and I just came back, so what Imperial Preceptor was there in the Imperial Preceptor's Manor?" Cripple stared at him, and Qin Mu didn't give in, staring right back. The smiles on their faces were similarly warm and gave others a feeling that they could be trusted. Even if one was stabbed by them, they would still think they deserved to be trusted. Qin Mu and Cripple continued staring at each other. Old Ma was warm-hearted despite looking cold. "We're all adults, so stop throwing a tantrum. We're here to see how you're getting by and if our limbs are still usable." Cripple smiled. "Old Ma had run over here from Great Thunderclap Monastery, so you should know he's here to see you specifically. Great Thunderclap Monastery is thousands of miles away from here and only 1,000 miles away from Disabled Elderly Village. As for me, I'm not here to see you. My leg was at Imperial Preceptor's Manor, and you happened to be the closest." Qin Mu's heart was warmed when Old Ma said, "Don't mind Cripple's harsh words, he's actually a good man. When you were young and always wet your bed, Granny was annoyed by you as she had never raised a child before, so she wanted to send you away to be raised by the neighboring village. When you were sent over the first day, you were back on Granny's bed on the next. Granny sent you over a few times more, yet you always came back mysteriously. It was Cripple, of course, who had stolen you back." Cripple shook his head. "I did not." I hate kids the most. If I didn't have just one leg, I would have kicked his balls daily. Qin Mu felt a stab of pain, and he said in disbelief, Granny sent me away because I wet the bed when I was young? But Granny dotes on me so much. Quite a few times, old Ma said. Granny had never given birth nor had she raised a child before. You peed like a waterfall and cried at night, cried when you were hungry, cried when you were stuffed, and even cried when you couldn't sleep. Even the cow that was fenced up was driven crazy by you, so it would be weird if Granny wouldn't have been annoyed. Us old geezers were so annoyed that village chief and apothecary had agreed that it would be a good thing to send you away as the village would become more peaceful. The pain in Qin Mu's heart worsened, and he said with a black face, Grandpa village chief and Grandpa apothecary also wanted to send me away? How did I not know about this? Cripple smiled. You were not a year old, so how would you remember? It would have been fine if you had just peed on the bed, but you even shit on it. Mute had originally wanted to send you away to be raised by others and even included a milking cow to make the offer more tempting for others. Yet you stopped wetting your bed soon, so you weren't sent away. Grandpa Mute also wanted to send me away? Qin Mu was silent for a moment. Luckily there's still Grandpa Blind and Grandpa Deaf who dote on me. Old Ma said, Blind indeed doted on you. But after he raised you high up in the air and you peed on his face, he did not say anything after Granny wanted to send you away. Cripple then continued the story. When you were young, Deaf was the most annoyed by you. You often climbed onto his desk and covered everything in ink. You even peed into his inkstone. He sighed. Still, you were cute when you wet the bed. You became not so cute when you grew up and peed on the stone statues in the village. Having received many psychological blows, Qin Mu said hoarsely, Grandpa Ma, Grandpa Cripple, I'm now the cult master of Heavenly Devil Cult, so can we not mention wetting the bed? Let me take a look at your leg and arm. Cripple smiled at old Ma. This incident of him being sent away after wetting the bed always cracks me up. I'm sure I'll laugh until I jump out of the coffin upon remembering it even after I've died. Old Ma revealed a smile. Me too. Qin Mu walked into the courtyard with a black face and moved the medicinal cauldron and furnace in. He checked the arm and leg of the two people and took out Junior Protector Sword to slice an opening on Cripple's leg, taking out a few drops of blood to check him in detail. After a moment, he cut open Old Ma's arm and also took out a few drops of blood. After studying them for a moment, he said, Even though the life force in Grandpa Ma's arm has been depleted by half, it's been preserved well. It seems like someone used a Buddhist incantation to vibrate the properties of the blood in the arm, keeping the blood fresh. With some nourishment from spirit pills and miracle medicine, the life force can be recovered, so the arm could be reattached. After training it for a few years, it would return back to its original state. Old Ma said, My arm was placed in Thousand Buddha Pagoda where the physical body of previous Rulai rests. Monks chant incantations day and night to preserve the activity of the body. Qin Mu jumped in shock and cried out, There's really 1,000 Buddhas in Great Thunderclap Monastery? Old Ma shrugged. I didn't count them, but there should be. Qin Mu composed himself and checked on Cripple's leg. Grandpa Cripple, this leg the blood has already spoiled and the leg has died. It can't be reattached anymore. Cripple's face turned pale white, and the smile on his face vanished as he cried out, How is that possible? I'm known as the divine legs and these two legs were trained to the realm of God, so how could one just die? Furthermore, it was chopped off just recently, merely some 20-30 years ago. I don't believe my leg is inferior to Old Ma's divine fist, it's definitely still alive. Qin Mu revealed an honest smile. My condolences, Grandpa Cripple. It's already dead and can't be reattached. Furthermore, I tasted your blood just now, and there was the taste of 5 spices and a smoky flavor to it. I reckon it was turned into a dried leg by Imperial Preceptor. Cripple laughed from extreme anger. Rascal, fooling me again. How could Imperial Preceptor be so poor to smoke my leg into dried meat? The moment he said that, he became nervous. Imperial Preceptor is indeed very poor, he wouldn't have turned it into dried meat, right? Qin Mu was pleased with himself. Old Ma said, Don't scare him, thieves are timid. Qin Mu smiled. Even though Grandpa Ma's arm and Grandpa Cripple's leg were less active than Grandpa Butcher's lower body, the life force within them is still there. I'll first use medicine to activate your severed limbs, and after 10 days to half a month, they will recover. When they are reattached, there should be no problems. Grandpa Butcher's lower body had been on Grand Shaman's body, so there were no hidden injuries left behind. Yours are not in such a good condition since there was no nourishment from a living body. Old Ma and Cripple let out a sigh of relief. As long as they can be reattached, it's good. Cripple smiled. I took a portion of spirit herbs from the palace's treasury, so you should see which spirit herbs can be used. If you lack any, I'll go and borrow some more. No need, the warehouse of Imperial College should have the needed herbs. Qin Mu came to the courtyard and was about to check the types of spirit herbs there when Hu Linger's voice reached him from outside. Young master, Imperial Preceptor came to visit. Imperial Preceptor is here? Could it be that what Grandpa Cripple did have been traced all the way here? Qin Mu was astonished. He turned around to close the door to the main room. Tidying up his clothes, he opened the gate to see Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor standing outside. This middle-aged man who shook the world with his might was ill at ease. He stood quietly for quite some time before saying slowly, Imperial Academician is well-to-do, could you lend me some money? Qin Mu was bewildered as he smiled. Imperial Preceptor came this time to borrow money? The magnificent Imperial Preceptor actually lacks money? Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor answered truthfully. When I went out for battle, a thief came into my house and cleaned everything out. Now my pockets are empty, yet I still have to go to North Garrison King's Manor to offer my condolences. I really don't have any money to spare. Qin Mu's heart was moved slightly. Could Grandpa Cripple have cleaned out Imperial Preceptor's manor and not left him any money? Grandpa Cripple may have lost a leg, but he's still more nimble than me. He smiled. Imperial Preceptor, how much money do you need? Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor calculated for a moment and said, My salary is 800 Great Abundance coins a month, so I'll borrow the salary of a month to tide me over. Qin Mu told Hu Linger. Linger, fetch 1,000 Great Abundance coins over and pass them to Imperial Preceptor. Hu Linger gave a sound of acknowledgement and slipped into the room. Qin Mu smiled. Is there a need for Imperial Preceptor to be so poor? The man shook his head. Too much external desires would affect one's cultivation and wisdom. With lesser desires, money is of no importance anymore. Suddenly his gaze flickered and he smiled. There are other people in your room. The person is in existence that's like a rollie sitting there motionlessly. That's not right. There should be two people. The other blends with the heaven and earth, drifting without a resting place. It seems like he could escape at any moment. What a superior body technique, which almost made me overlook him. Academician, why are you not inviting me in to take a seat? Qin Mu shook his head. Imperial Preceptor, I'm not going to invite you in. My elders have come, and they are injured, so it isn't convenient for them to meet people. Oh, so they're injured? That explains why there are so many spirit herbs in the courtyard. I'm also injured, therefore it's indeed inconvenient to disturb them. Hu Linger brought a huge coin pouch over, and Qin Mu took it from her, handing it to Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor with a smile. If Imperial Preceptor is tight on money, there's no need to return. Imperial Preceptor, a person of noble character can be poor, but there's no need to be poor. Being poor is not a requirement to be a noble person. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor said. I have to return. The Emperor's reward will come in a few days, and I'll be able to pay you back then. I just need this to tide me over the next few days. He expressed his thanks and bade farewell. Qin Mu waited until he walked farther away before telling Hu Linger and the dragon Qilin to guard outside again. He walked into the main room and asked, Grandpa Cripple, you cleaned out Imperial Preceptor's manor? What do you mean by cleaned out? Cripple shook his head. There was not much money in his manor to begin with, and he didn't even have any valuable furniture. The thing worth the most was probably Def's painting, which is priceless. Qin Mu was puzzled. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor was really that poor? He was an important minister that had power over all levels of society, so how could he have no capital? There were some officials in Eternal Peace Empire that were compradors in mining, some set up refineries, casting factories, and had unspeakable wealth. As the Imperial Preceptor, how could he be so poor? Cripple took out a scroll from God knows where and opened it up. This painting of the sword god's back should be of village chief, right? Def should have seen the village chief, young Kiki. This painting can't be seen, else the eyes will become blind. He rolled back the painting of sword god and threw it at Qin Mu. I'll give it to you, use it to ward off evil. The painting of village chief painted by blind makes it hard for ghosts to come near you. Don't open it. With your cultivation, you'll turn blind if you take a look and might even die. Even though the paintings of Def from back then had yet to reach the god realm, the person he had drawn was too powerful, so you still can't see it. Qin Mu was skeptical, but he placed the painting in his Taohai sack. Old Ma said, Def had indeed seen village chief before, but it was reverence in him, more than anything. In the village, he was closest to Mute. Now that Mute left without saying a thing, I reckon Deaf will be unable to keep still and will definitely come out to find him. Qin Mu was moved. Ever since he left the village, the people of disabled elderly village had come out one after another. Even though these old folks said that they didn't miss him, they had all walked out of the village for him. He concentrated on distinguishing the spirit herbs that Cripple had borrowed from the palace, thinking to himself, "The herbs from the palace are indeed precious, but they're a little inferior to the herbs in Grandpa Apothecary's herb garden. These are all hard to get spirit herbs." With them, he already had the prescription to nourish Old Ma's arm and Cripple's divine leg. He just needed to pick some supplementary herbs from the warehouse in Imperial College. Qin Mu tidied up the herbs and matched them up. He nourished Old Ma's arm and Cripple's leg with medicine before buying some venomous insect powder of the south from the warehouse of the Imperial College. This insect powder was made of incomparably tiny insects called vermilion beauty venomous insects. If a single insect was placed in front of a person, it was impossible to see with the naked eye, only with the third eye. After the insects were dried and turned into powder, they would revive when in contact with blood. Qin Mu asked for some fresh blood from Old Ma and Cripple and used it to dissolve the insect powder. When vermilion beauty venomous insects received the nourishment of fresh blood, they revived and made it seem as if the two goblets of fresh blood were alive. Old Ma and Cripple looked at the goblets. Their eyesight was extraordinary and could naturally see the insects in the blood. There were tens of thousands of them densely packed in the goblet, and the sight of it was terrifying. Cripple smiled. "Mu, you plan to use these insects to cure our limbs? What insects are these? Are they harmful or not?" Among the people in the village, Butcher could only claim to be number 2 when ranked on fiendishness that could make little maidens cry. The number 1 was Apothecary, who loved to raise flowers and little insects. Apothecary's face was scary, but his insects were scarier. Cripple was used to stealing stuff, and everyone's room had been visited by him. Even Qin Mu's sugar-coated hawthorns were scanned away by him a few times, but he had never touched Apothecary's room. Qin Mu followed Apothecary to learn the art of healing, so he was quite knowledgeable about insects. Looking at the insects in the two goblets, Cripple couldn't help feeling his hair stand on end. He kept having the feeling that a wicked person was trying to harm him. "Grandpa Cripple, don't worry. The use of vermilion beauty venomous insects is one of the venomous insect techniques from 5 sprouts of the southern borders. There's no harm to the body." Qin Mu injected the insect blood into the blood vessels of Old Ma's arm and Cripple's leg, and the vermilion beauty venomous insects were now planted into the limbs. He then said, "The reason why these insects are called vermilion beauty venomous insects is because there are some women from the sex of the southern borders who use them to freeze their beauty and preserve their youth. They even continue to look alive after they are dead. Looking alive after dying." Cripple gave a shudder, still feeling that these vermilion beauty venomous insects weren't anything good. Qin Mu placed Cripple's leg and Old Ma's arm into the medicinal cauldron. There was already a cauldron of medicinal decoction there, and he said, "This kind of venomous insect can eat away the dead blood in the blood, the dead skin on the skin, the mucous membrane when muscles are damaged, broken bones, and dead bone marrow. That's why people who use vermilion beauty venomous insects are able to preserve the appearance of their youth until they die of old age." Grandpa Apothecary said he had a few intimate friends of the fairer sex who raised this kind of venomous insect in their body. Even years later, they still looked 16 to 17 years old and were very tight. Grandpa Apothecary said he likes girls who are very tight. The youth revealed a thoughtful expression. "What does girls who are very tight mean?" Cripple said. "You're still young, don't think about these nonsensical things. Can I use them?" Qin Mu found a seed from the spirit herbs taken from the palace and lifted up a floor tile in the main room, revealing jade-like soil underneath. "Of course. However, there's a disadvantage to this kind of venomous insect. If they get hungry, they start eating the healthy flesh and blood, so people who have these venomous insects need to use fresh blood to raise them. As time goes by, there will be more and more vermilion beauty venomous insects in their body, so the fresh blood they have to consume will grow in quantity." He opened his tautia sack and took out some water from Jade Dragon Palace to water it. Grandpa Apothecary said that in the land of 5 sprouts, it is a frequent occurrence that beautiful women seduce young and strong men. After a night of fun, only the skin of the men would be left, their owners having turned into dissolute ghosts. The essence and blood sucked away from their bodies would have been used by the women to feed their vermilion beauty venomous insects. Cripple shuddered. After Qin Mu watered the soil, it bulged out and a soft shoot popped out, growing taller and taller at a speed visible to the naked eye. The youth executed Overlord Body 3 elixir technique as he continued walking around the tiny sapling in the main room. He then executed Earth Ian creation technique and struck the tiny sapling with madras. The moment his palm and his 5 moving fingers touched the leaf of the sapling, they would immediately get deflected. When the branches and leaves came into contact with his palm or fingers, there were actually ding and dong sounds which were like notes of a guqin. A melodious rhythm rang out in the main room. Qin Mu stepped about, and with his Earth Ian creation technique, the small tree grew to the height of a human and began to sprout, revealing lush green leaves. Next, flower buds grew out and bloomed into snow-white pear blossoms. The reputation of vermilion beauty venomous insect isn't good, so when I went to the warehouse of Imperial College to buy it earlier, the directorate even asked what I wanted to use it for. That directorate said that there are many females in the kings, dukes, and ministers' families that like these kinds of things. There are also some consorts in the palace that like them, so Hall of Supreme Healing had altered these venomous insects so that they couldn't reproduce. Qin Mu's footsteps didn't stop, and neither did his hands. The madra continued to change like Guanyin flicking her fingers. Each flick produced a thump sound of a stone landing into a calm lake. The pear blossoms on the tree withered as green pears grew out. Those pears were small and exquisite, only the size of a thumb. However, under the transformation of Qin Mu's madra, the fruits slowly grew bigger. Imperial Physician, you even created an insect elimination pill so when the vermilion beauty venomous insects start to harm the body, one can consume this pill to kill the vermilion beauty venomous insects and remove them from their body. Qin Mu transformed his creation technique, continuing to ripen the fruits, and the green pears on the tree became as big as a fist. I had the directorate of the warehouse fetch an insect elimination pill for me to have a look. The herbs used in it are only ordinary herbs, yet they are sold for an exorbitant price. Even Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor's month's salary isn't enough to buy one of them. That directorate said that Imperial Physician, you had relied on this pill to become a tycoon among the Imperial Physicians. Cripple's eyes lighted up. Imperial Physician, you? Tycoon? The pears on the tree turned yellow and gave off a fragrant fruity smell. Qin Mu plucked a few and threw them to Old Ma and Cripple. The 2 old men took a bite and the sweetness of the pear spread throughout their mouth, making them exclaim in admiration. What kind of spell did little divine physician use to transform these pears? Old Ma asked. Qin Mu blushed and said, Grandpa Ma, stop making fun of me. This is the Earth Ian creation technique that Granny taught me. Earth Ian creation technique? Old Ma and Cripple looked at each other in dismay, and Cripple muttered, I saw Granny C execute this move to refine the sun before. At the time of noon, the 5 hearts faced upwards to gather the essence of the sun, causing the fire clouds in the sky to come surging over. The sight was so terrifying that it was obvious at first glance that it was a top-notch technique of the devil path. Granny C used this technique to scorch many people to death, which is very unlike how you used it just now. Qin Mu was stunned. Could I have cultivated it wrongly? Old Ma disagreed. You didn't cultivate it wrongly. You had cultivated it purely, while I reckon Old Woman C was the one that had strayed from the path. The sun nourishes all living things, so by right it should be used this way. Qin Mu plucked a few more pears and sliced them into half before placing them in the medicine decoction. I use vermilion beauty venomous insects to get rid of the dead parts in the arm and leg, and after they are gotten rid of, I will use medicine to force the vermilion beauty venomous insects out. The insects won't harm your limbs. This yellow pear is a herb to excite the medicinal energy of other herbs. It's also pretty delicious, but there are little medicinal properties in it. His knowledge in the art of healing even surpassed that of Imperial Physician Yu. This physician had used insect elimination pill to poison vermilion beauty venomous insects, so after they died, they would still remain within the body to be slowly discharged. Qin Mu, however, had used medicine to force these venomous insects to swim out by themselves, not leaving a trace behind.